Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about The Penguin Season 1, Episode 6. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, it seems Oz's underground lair and operation is booming, getting bliss out there. Everyone's feeling good. Everyone's getting paid. And Oz is kind of making the whole point, him and Victor is like, yeah, they're going to they're going to tell stories about us. We're going to be remembered as Victor and Oswald. We're going to be the ones that kind of ran things, Sadly, I don't know if Victor's name is going to be long for, in that legend. Once again, that just depends on how this all plays out, but I get the feeling, aside from how the episode ends, I do get the feeling like, there probably won't. I always had a feeling Victor wasn't going to make it, but we'll see. But either way, they're feeling on top of the world, and Sal and Sophia are feeling the pressure and the anger and frustration that they're trying to find this little weed that's out there growing, and they can't rip it up out of the ground because his people are disappearing underground. Like, he's like, they're so, and as Oswald put it, he's like, yeah, they got their nose so high, they don't even think about looking for us underground. So it's like, yeah, that never even crossed their minds. And so they have no idea where to even start, because every time they find one of his boys out there selling, they disappear. So they're able to use the underground systems to be able to dodge, even if they get caught or seen. Like, as long as they disappear in the tunnels without anyone knowing, it's kind of all a moot point. So really quickly, staying on Sophia, the whole her and Julian thing is interesting, where like she had him tied up, tied up, scratches on his body. It's almost like he's fine with being like her being able to kind of take all her pain out on him, because he's like, yeah, I deserve it, but it's almost like it's a dom and sub relationship, where he's like, I've always found you attractive, I always wanted you, and now like you're the one with all the power, and in his own way, I guess he thinks like, I'm also helping you, but I'm also satisfying my kink because I like you. And I don't know if this is normally his thing, but maybe it's his thing now because it's Sophia's thing. And it's her kind of getting power against, men who've constantly taken from her. She's kind of giving it back a little bit. But also, it's like her scratching up his body, just like it gives her, I think, an outlet, so she's no longer scratching herself. I think it kind of alleviates some of that tension she has from her nightmares, because we don't know if she's still having those nightmares up until like post killing the Falcons. Like, I don't know, and becoming a Gigante and building that family out and joining with Sal, I don't know if she still has those nightmares, and maybe she still does, but now she has an outlet for them, and that's Julie, and all that anger, all that sadness. So we'll see what kind of comes of that. But her and Sal end up having a meal. I even love her breaking out the good bowls. She's like, don't use those. It's like, fuck letting all this good stuff go to waste. Like, nah, just bring out the good stuff. And he has a meal that he's like, Nadia taught me because we were supposed to pass it down, and it's like Taj likes it with yogurt, and Sophia's like, yeah, Taj was right. It's right. It tastes better with yogurt. That line from just being like, Taj was right. And he's just trying to muster up the not breaking down. The fact is that, his legacy ends with him, because it's supposed to be his son, and not only his son, but his wife is going too. So it's a lot. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum, where Sophia didn't give a fuck about her family, and that's why she wiped them out, versus Sal, who loved his family, but now they're gone. They're in the same situation, I didn't think about that last episode. They're in the same situation, just polar opposites to each other when it comes to the family dynamic. So I thought it was interesting too, because Sophia was like, no, I'm the one that has to connect with Zhao. He made the deal with me, so we don't have to worry about snaping that. But it's like, Sal had to be like, no, those deals are going whoever has the most money. It's like, that's something like, now I don't know how to interpret like fully what Sal says. It could be all of this, but like the way Sal says it, he's kind of like, that's something that Oz learned from Carmine, or kind of implying that the situation is that Carmine like basically left the keys to the castle when it came to the Zhao, because maybe that's why Oz has a connect with the triads in the first place through Link, it's because of Carmine. So in either way, it's kind of a double FU, because it's like, well, Oz is jacking the deal. This operation was yours to begin with, and he's profiting off of your hard work. But and also it's like he got this idea after obviously he got it before he killed your brother, but still, and now he's taking your whole operation. He's taking the deal that you made. Your name, your business meeting with Zhao is what made that happen, and he's kind of taking that from you. And it's also a double middle finger because your dad's fingerprints are all over that. Like I said, I don't know if it's just the strategy is something that Sal was saying Oz picked up, or is it just saying like in general, if it wasn't for Carmine, Oz wouldn't have that connect in the first place. So either way, having Carmine's fingerprints on it in some shape or form is just another double FU for Sophia. So I do love when they go to Oz's place and Sal turns on the fireplace and everything, and he looks at Sophia and she's like, I know, because it's kind of like the what the fuck? It's like, I know. It's like the only people who recognize it for being tacky. I love that little moment. But I was like, well, would Oz make the mistake of leaving anything behind? And he did. And that was Eve. I was like, oh God. Because that's the thing. She looked at Eve, and then she also, I think she saw Eve at the club, but she probably didn't realize how important Eve was to him, because it's 3 times, if you remember correctly. First time is when they talked in episode 1, he was like, he gave Eve as his alibi. 2, she probably didn't recognize Eve by name or appearance because she was wearing like a blonde wig a blonde wig at the time. But also 2, I don't think she ever met Eve. I don't know if she ever went to go check that alibi herself. I'd assume she did, but it's because Eve later on says, oh, you don't recognize me. It's because like the only time they met was at the club, but she probably didn't hear Eve's name. It's not till she saw the photo that she was like, oh, it's you. I remember you from episode 3, but did not realize you're the same person that was supposed to be Oz's alibi. Because like I said, I think this was supposed to be their first meeting, so I don't think she never personally checked it, or someone she had, like her right-hand guy she killed in episode 2 might have been where she ended up sending him to check the alibi. I don't know. But him leaving that photo behind, because I guess at the time he wasn't thinking, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing, but also he probably didn't think much of it being anything important. But it's like, well, the last person you wanted to have that information ended up having it, and she has all the dots to end up connecting stuff. So she goes trying to track down Eve, but people are like, nah, we're not going to say anything. My stupid self at the time, I was like, oh man, the people here have a oh my God, they look out for Oz. They got Oz's back. That benefits him. But it was like, no, it wasn't Oz's back that they had. It's Eve. And then Roxy sells her out. I was like, you suck, Roxy. But then we find out, oh, Roxy was just doing what Eve told her to. It's like, yo, send her up and also get paid on the side. So I was like, oh, wow, that's good on you. So I was like, I was about to say like, oh man, you suck, Roxy. You come back just to sell Eve out. But no, she was fine with that. She's like, yeah, go ahead and tell her to come up, but also get a little scratch on the side for doing this to me. It's kind of a win-win. I think it's also because Eve knew she wasn't going to make it out of that situation, believed she wasn't going to. So once again, this show, I mean, it's crime dramas in general, because they're the ones that you're just like, anyone could get popped at any moment. So you're just like, got this tension in your stomach. Like, I don't know how this is going to play out. I was so certain Eve was going to die. So, and Eve's trying to be as calm as possible, because I think it's a situation of, because she believed her to be the hangman, I think Eve decided, like, I don't want to be so fearful. I knew it was only a matter of time. You know, I literally told Oz that things were going to come down to this, but I don't want to give the hangman any power over me. So I'm like, I'm not going to be fearful. I'm just going to, like, play it straight. And it's just like, oh, you want a drink? So, for Eve, like I said, she's under the impression Sophia is the hangman. So for her, she's just being frank of like, okay, it isn't really love. Like, I know who Oz is. I know he's a liar, a narcissist, a killer. But it's kind of a thing of like, it runs deeper than that. Like, oh, he takes care of you. He pays. It's like, she's like, she even admits like, You think Oz would tell me where he ended up? Lo and behold, it turns out because she knew exactly where he was the entire time. Because his whole thing was, I want, when things calm down, when things are better, I want you to come be with me. Because he does love her in a sense. And it's like, well, does he really? And it's just like, he has a weird, like, connection with like loyalty and love. It's kind of like both. Because, you know, he's, for him, it's like you can buy love and loyalty. When you look at his family situation with his mom, it kind of makes sense. But when it comes to like loyalty, and he even had that conversation with Vic about being able to buy it and stuff like that. So, like, that's why people are keeping their mouth shut towards Sophia and Sal. Because they did try to make a point by like killing some of the anyone caught with Bliss got hung upside down and got their pinky cut off, which I love. Oz is like, come on, Sophia, pick a lane. But anyway, going back to the eve of it all, it's not until Sophia's like, I didn't kill the hangman, because some of the women that were killed were ladies of the night, and they were friends and people that, I don't know if they were necessarily Eve's girls, but they could have just been friends that she knew in the biz. But then she's like, yeah, it wasn't me, it was my dad. Oh, Oz never told you, huh? It's like, yeah, Oz was still working with the guy that murdered your friends. And he never told you because the fear of telling you that and what you having that information, you know, it's kind of like shows, it also shows the lane in which Oz views you, that he doesn't respect or care about you enough to tell you everything, that he keeps cards close to the vest because telling you would be too much of a hassle, because it gave him kind of some control over you by not telling you the truth, because he knew like if Oz told her the truth, she'd be like, wait, you're still working with the man who killed my friends. Not a good look. So, but at the end of it all, for Eve, it's like, hey, you can kill me, just leave my girls alone. And it's like, oh, they did. It's like, yeah, they have my back and I have theirs. And Sophia's like, even from the circumstances of where I come from, my family and everything, I still wouldn't be able to have that. So it's kind of that rare, that loyalty. It's like, which we know she did not have that. Like, her family threw her under the bus. That's why they're all dead. So it's kind of a thing of Sophia respects Eve. I was about to say, because I'm sure that, I was about to say, like, well, she doesn't go around just killing women. It's like, well, she did kill some women, obviously part of the Falcons, but they were like, she kind of looks at Eve as like an innocent person and all this to some extent. It's like, you were his alibi. It's like, well, I didn't know I was initially his alibi for Alberto, but then I found out and I still backed him. So I thought that still would have been enough for Sophia to still want to kill her, but let her go. But then Eve, because finding out about Oz, it's like, he's in Crown Point, the zoo, and sold him out. Once again, it's like, it's kind of like, you lied to me. You knew who actually killed my girls, and you still worked with him for years. So it's the same reason why Sophia was pissed at Johnny for being like, oh, I worked with the guy who killed my cousin despite me saying she's beautiful and awesome. Like, you still sided and worked with that monster. So I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that to be where that information from, because my immediate thought was, the squid of it all pops back up because he saw Vic, and now he's seeing Vic like, yo, here you are with the shoes and everything. He's like, nah, they're B grade. He's like, come on, dude, you're making money, this is my side of town, so like, come on, you gotta cut me in, make me a part of the business, yada, yada, yada. I was like, yeah, squid's gonna be an issue. I thought it was interesting, too, when we find out from Vic, it's like the reason why he was trying to steal, like, from Oz's car in the first place was because he had been I guess they needed the money to survive, and the only way they were going to... I mean, to be fair, Calvin was to connect. That Squid is his cousin, so it's like they kind of he has no home, so he had to work for Squid. So I wonder, was that the first thing he did for Squid or not? I mean, once again, at that point it had been like, at least the beginning of it takes place like of the series takes place a week later, so who knows how long it was before he started working with Squid. That might have been the first job Victor was ever part of. Maybe not, but yeah, finding out like that's why I was stealing your rims for Squid, and he tells Oz about this, but Oz is like, do we have a problem? And Vic was like, no. He's like, because he sees Oz has already enough to deal with, the power situation, his mom, and it just, and I think it's nice that Vic situation being what it was, like he tried to like, it's kind of that thing of rather than trying to bring her back to reality, I don't know if someone in a situation like that where they're kind of losing their mind and their memories. I don't know if you're supposed to play into that or whether you are supposed to, like, I don't know which one's the better move to do. Because I understand where Vic was coming from, where he was like, no. Like, Jack's going to go pay the bills and stuff like that. It's all good. It's all Gucci. And then, like, Oswald was like, whoa. Don't do that. You know, it's like, for one, it's like, this is my mom. Don't do that. But also, you don't use my brother's name in vain type of situation. Which, you know, and obviously for Vic, it's like, I didn't mean anything bad by it. I just wanted her to be calm and make sure she's okay. And like, by playing into her confusion, you're making her feel better. And I guess but like, Oz doesn't want that, because also, I think there's also a little bit of the element of, and you could read into this, and maybe this might be me reading too much into it, but you could also look at it as a, no. No one's taking credit for something I did. I think that's kind of that Walter White element there, where it's like, no. They're going to know I did this. I need my family to know I'm the one that's taking care of them, you know? It's kind of that thing of like, oh, I don't want to make it so that they think this money is coming from someone else. It needs to be like, oh my God, I'm the one to support my family. It might be a little bit of that, where it's like, don't play into her delusions. I want her to be grounded right now. I want her to recognize who I am and what I've done. I'm wondering, by the end of this, will we find out what happened to his brothers and if he was involved in some shape or form? You know, I don't know. And also, I'm curious what happened with his dad. Like, why his dad isn't in the picture. So, did he die? Something else? Because like, the pictures we saw were mainly of Oz and his brothers and their mom. But I was kind of worried the moment she kind of snapped at Oz, because Oz was snapping her, trying to bring her back to reality. But he was kind of, you know, obviously being a little, with everything going on, this whole thing stressing him out. I thought, like, when she was like, I'll take care of myself, I was like, oh boy, that's going to lead to something. Turned out it didn't. It did to some extent, because she got in the bath on her own, but she couldn't get out on her own, and she stayed in that cold water the entire time. I was like, that's a really heartbreaking scene. I don't know, man. Just especially with, like, you know, my mom's getting up there in age and stuff like that, and it's like, I don't know. That shit just hits. It's too real, and it hits a little too close to home, because like, I've had to take care of a family member, like one of my grandparents. I had to, like, not that exact same situation, but I had to take care of them for a little while. So it's just like, I don't know. I guess that kind of triggers some of that in my memory. So, but I was just, and seeing her like so like frail and freezing like that, it's heartbreaking. And for him, seeing his mom like that is heartbreaking. He's like, yeah, I did. You've been in the bath all night, like, because I should have come in to check up on you. Like, his mom is his everything. She's his motivation, his reason for wanting more. It comes from, like, he wants to do right by his mom, because, you know, she even says, I gave you everything. He's like, yeah, you did. But for her, it's like, I don't want to be one of those people who drools and shits themselves. Like, once my memories goes before my body does, you need to put me down. And he's like, I don't want to do that. He's like, that would be me putting you down like a dog, but you're not. You're my mom. And it's like, but it's like, if you love me, you will do this. And it's like, you're going to be okay, because you're my boy. I know you're going to be fine. You're going to run things. So you need to do this for me. Promise me and mean it. And it's like, I think that's going to come up probably next episode, because like, Oz is going to have a choice of, hey, either you do this or your mom gets it. And for her, like, for Oz, it's probably going to be a situation of, I got to let my mom go. I don't want to, but the fact of the matter is, I need to let her go, because that's the only way she wouldn't want to go before. But that's also when her memory goes. So we'll see. That might be taken out of Oz's hands. Maybe not. We'll see how that all shakes out, because at the end of the episode, we'll get to soon enough. But so like I said, I was nervous about that whole situation of whether she'd kind of be out on her own, and that kind of gives Sophia his location. The other thing I was kind of worried about was the Squid of it all. Because Squid, you know, the moment Vic tried to pay him off to kind of go away, it's kind of like a, nah, I'm not taking your money. Like, you're supposed to, like, bring me to your boss and stuff. And the moment he started running his mouth about Oz, you're like, well, he knows too much. He knows I'm working with Oz. He knows a little too much about the operation. He doesn't know enough that could fuck you over, he doesn't know a lot, but he knows enough to fuck you over. So that was always going to be the issue. I was like, Vic's going to have to take care of this. And he does. That's where I was kind of worried about, like, even though Vic shot Squid, I was like, well, he kind of died on screen, but I was like, I'm still kind of nervous of, yeah, but this might be a home dude from episode 2 was still alive after the shootout, and I thought it was going to be something similar where, like, he's going to end up at the hospital, Sophia's going to find out and talk to Squid, because Victor did say, like, hey, we're underground. He's like, yo, what are you doing, digging holes? But that's what I was like, he knows you're underground, so that's what I was scared about, that Squid, I mean, yeah, that's what I was the most worried about. But turns out that was like a moot point. Like, hey, Victor took care of that. But obviously, it's like, it's not the first time he's killed someone. But you could make an argument it was kind of the rush of the moment type of situation. It was to protect us. This was kind of the same thing too. It was self-preservation, but it's a lot different when it's like, hey, hitting someone with a car like he did in episode 3 versus, yo, I just popped somebody. It's different. And he's just like, why'd you make me do that? He's like, you fuck. It's like you couldn't just let shit go. So I mean, that was no longer an issue. And then when he came to see Oz later, Oz was like, you took care of that problem. And he's like, did you get away clean? He's like, I think so. He's like, good. Hey, it's okay. You did what you had to, like kind of keep your chin up. He's like, meet my eyes up here. Like, the fact is you did what you had to do to protect the people you love. And that's never something to be ashamed of. So get your clothes changed, like, relax, because I'm going to need your head on a swivel, like, tomorrow. So, and the way he treats Victor, I wonder, does he, like, it's not even like a soldier, does he look at Victor almost like a brother? Because that almost feels like, because obviously she keeps mistaking, his mom constantly mistakes Victor for one of his brothers, and I wonder if that's also another thing that irks Oz's a little too, like, where it's like, you have a better relationship with my mom than me. Like, I think maybe that irks his nerves a tiny. Once again, don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but yeah, Oz had initially he had made it so that Bliss was still going out, so that even in the territories where people were like pulling back because of Sophia's, like, killing 3 of the people in Sullivan territory, he did go see that councilman and is like, yo, give the power back to us. You need to return it to Crown Point. Got those pliers on his nose. It's like, oh, just thinking about that scene kind of got my nose. Like, I'm grabbing that part of my nose. I'm like, ugh, it just makes me uncomfortable. And I love the whole thing. It's like, hey, come on, it's just your nose. And then, like, cleans up the pliers and the tie. And I once again, a little extra dialogue that feels unnecessary, but it's in there, where it's just kind of that moment of, like, the guy's backing up. He's like, go ahead, you got more room than you think you do. I'm like, that's not even necessary, but they're included in that for whatever reason. I don't know why. That's just funny to me. But yeah, I didn't fully know what Oz's plan was. I thought, like, and I guess it kind of plays into it, because I was like, maybe Oz is forcing everyone's hands so that Sophia starts going after other people, so everyone has no choice but to, like, well, we can't just sit around and let Sophia pop the rest of our people. Oz has put us in a very compromising position. It's the long and short of it in a way, so I was kind of on the right track, but I still wasn't fully sure what his plan was. But yeah, he gets the leaders of all these different gangs together. I love the dropping the Elliot's name, because he's like, yeah, you want to go after Sophia, like, you got the manpower, but apparently you're not going after her. All you have to do is cross Elliot Bridge, though. Wasn't it? It's Tommy, right? I always forget. I want to say it's Tommy. Hush's name. I think it is. So once again, because he's making the whole point of Sullivan, your family built that bridge. But it's not your family. It's not the Sullivan Bridge. It's the Elliott Bridge, because the rich and powerful, those crooks. And he's kind of making this whole point of where he came up from, what he's done. Because Zhao was like, right, you are a killer and a liar. You betray everyone. He's like, yeah, I'm a hustler. I do what I have to do. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I killed Alberto. But yeah, I'm a survivor. I'm a hustler. And that's who you guys are too. And it took me a minute. It's not until we had Link turn and look to the other guy in the gangs, I was like, oh my God. Oz isn't talking to the leaders. He's talking to their henchmen. Because it's like, I'm not one of them. I'm one of you. I thought the scene was going to end with them popping their respective leaders and their second, because like all the second in commands kind of looked at each other like, all right, he's not talking to our bosses. They think he's talking to them. He's talking to us, because he's always, it's like, yo, I'm one of you. You know, I worked for I worked for the Falcons, specifically Carmine, but Falcons for years. Like, so I'm speaking to you guys. So I thought they were respectively going to pop their leaders. That still will most likely happen. It's just not now. Because they made such an emphasis on it. So it's like, I was certain that's where that's going. And I do believe that's still going to be the end result. Because it's like, to be fair, it's like, he doesn't have to connect with Zhao. He has to connect with Link. And he's up promising them so much more. It's like, oh, like, once we're in a good enough position, you can pop your respective bosses and you become the bosses. It's time new blood came in to run things. Because we're different gangs. You got beef with each other. The fact of the matter is, most of you hate my guts. That's understandable, you know? But it's like, yeah, this unity. Because at first I was like, is he going to... My initial thought with the setup, too, was I wasn't expecting him to have beers. I was like, well, are they laced with something? Do you have guns stashed in there? I thought, like, the box and everything, he's like, oh, be careful with that. I was like, are there bombs here? Like, I thought it was explosives. I wasn't expecting the beers. I'm like, is there explosives beneath it? Like, what's the deal? And it's like, no, it was just beers, but there could have been some heavy artillery underneath that ice, just in case, so... But yeah, he's building his own little larger criminal enterprise, bringing all these gangs together. So you're like, all right. But that's the problem with Oz. Every time there's one step forward, he's got the power back on. He's gaining all the power at, you know, obviously, like, there's beautiful symmetry in that the moment he's gaining this power, gaining all the other gangs helping him out, it's just when the power returns to Crown Point, the music plays, his mom's up and dancing, and she's dancing with Vic, and it's just like, oh, it's kind of a nice moment. And then we see Sophia is in the house. She has a crowbar in her hand, and I'm like, either Vic... Well, because people have... Funny enough, I don't know if this is the route they're going to go. Funny enough, people have made the comparison from Vic to Jason Todd, which I think is so interesting, because apparently that's how... Like, I don't know enough about Jason except for, like, Titans. I don't remember if they ever went over to his origins of how him and Bruce got connected, but I want to say it was, like... I think people had said, like, apparently, like, Jason was, like, stealing. Like, what Vic was kind of doing is what Jason was doing in the comics, like, before he met Bruce. I don't know if he was stealing specifically, like, trying to steal the hubcaps or just steal the Batmobile. Was it just Bruce's car in general? Probably most likely the Batmobile, but either way. And the reason why I'm bringing that parallel, because she used the crowbar. I literally had to pause the recording because I actually forgot the word crowbar, even though I used it earlier, I think. Either way, but yeah, if you don't know anything about Batman stuff, Joker literally beat Jason Todd to death with a crowbar. I mean, he kind of got it live action wise with Titans, but because they did the Red Hood storyline. But either way, I'm wondering, like, is she about to, like, bash Vic in like that? I don't think she'll do that. I mean, probably for torture purposes. I mean, granted, that was just her getting inside the house, so doesn't mean she'll necessarily use it to do that, but it's there, so we'll see. I mean, this is some mom gangster shit, so it wouldn't be too, like, out of her realm of possibilities of doing that. She might do that to torture Vic or Oz's mom. She'd probably be more likely use it against Vic, which would play into what I was saying. Cause I feel I could definitely see her just straight up killing Oz's mom. Cause I'm like, would he, like, she torture Vic, feeling like wondering if Vic is important to him. But, like, probably straight up just kill his mom. I don't know if she'd be down for torturing an old lady. But I could also see Oz's mom being the type to talk mad shit, even being held hostage and whatnot. So every time Oz takes a step forward, he takes a massive step back. And Eve made sure to tell, like, her, like, yo, do not... Eve was like, do not let this information get back. And it's like, it's going to suck the moment Oz finds out that Eve's the one that betrayed him, was kind of his undoing. But that's been in play for a while now. It was just only a matter of time of when that card was going to get played, the whole Eve. Like, it was only a matter of time. Like, no one was thinking, like, oh, Eve's just going to be fine. It's like, no, Sophia was eventually going to catch up with the Eve of it all eventually. So, but either way, it's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. Penultimate episode of the season or series. Depends on whether or not there is a season 2. There's been murmurings on whether there will be or not. But at the very least, the penultimate episode of the season. 2 episodes left in the show or season, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.